For more on Zizi Kodwa's first court appearance, I'm joined by Canny Maphanga, SABC News senior reporter. Canny, good afternoon. So Zizi made his first court appearance. He's now former minister because there have been a lot of developments beyond that first appearance. But talk us through the court proceedings, perhaps starting with the background, just for the benefit of those who might not have been following the case.
All right. Well, Mfundo, we did know that there was going to be a high-profile individual that would be placed before that commercial crimes court sitting in Palmridge. However, when we saw that he emerged into that criminal dock with a businessman by the name of Jehan Mackay, it became quite clear that we're dealing with a case stemming from the Zondo Commission. Now, you remember that matter which discussed allegations of bribery. You remember Zizi Kodwa went and testified at the Zondo Commission and said that it was just an interaction between friends. He said that it had nothing to do with the procurement processes of tenders in government, including State Security Agency. You may remember at the time that EOH, which Jehan Mackay was the former executive director, stand to be corrected on the exact title that he enjoyed there at that company, had been the subject of a number of allegations before the Zondo Commission. So we knew as soon as the pair emerged together that this had to do with the alleged bribery of 1.6 million to him and luxury accommodation in Cape Town, which we saw discussed extensively in the Zondo Commission with the Chief Justice, Raymond Zondo, who was then the chair of the commission, making a recommendation that he should be probed further on this. However, we saw that after these allegations, he was still appointed as the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. But however, when he came to court this morning, after seeing him appear rather in the criminal dock, the big question was, would he step aside as per the ANC step-aside resolution, which was reaffirmed in its latest national conference. And we saw just about seconds after that court appearance, he then tendered in his resignation. We saw that public statement in the public domain confirming that fact.
It seemed as though the state was not quite fearful that the two would be a flight risk. They didn't oppose bail. But then we heard from Zizi Kodwa's attorney, Zola Majavu, stating that, quite frankly, for them, they're quite confident that the state has a weak case.
Well, the Criminal Procedure Act places offences under different schedules. We know that their offence, which deals with corruption charges, has fallen under Schedule 5, which meant that the onus was placed on them to apply for bail and convince the court on numerous grounds that it was in the interest of justice for them to be released on bail. So the application was unopposed, but as I've always stated in the criminal procedure process, once you reach Schedule 5, it's neither here nor there whether the state is for or against your bail, because you still need to advance certain grounds to prove that it is in the interest of justice for you to be released on bail. So, of course, they argued both those applications, and the court found that it was in the interest of justice to release them on bail. They got 30,000 rand bail each, and they are allowed to travel. They would just have to inform their IO, and there'd have to be some conversation between the IO and the prosecutor. Then, of course, they can't interfere with state witnesses. And then the issue of the merits of the case, which is not wise to discuss at this stage. However, Zizi Kodwa's lawyer stated that the state is heavily reliant on the doctrine of common purpose to advance their matter, and the state is of the view that they have a serious case just based on that alone. But we know the threshold that exists in a criminal court and how you have to substantively link A and B in order to prove that case. So it still will be quite a tough matter. However, we're going to have to see that play out when that matter gets transferred for trial. And we're far from that at this stage.
And we could hear Majavu was quite confident, saying that link will be quite difficult to make, that you move from the doctrine of common purpose all the way through that nexus to PRECA. He believes it will be an uphill battle.
Absolutely. They're claiming that they are friends, and that transaction was between friends and had nothing to do with a common purpose to secure or advance the business interests of Jehan Mackay.
There was another important matter in court today in the Western Cape. The EFF members, talk us through that one. What happened today?
Yes, this all relates to the suspension by 30 days and without pay for the contempt of parliament, which stemmed from the storming of the 2023 Sona stage. Now, you may remember the Powers and Privileges Committee confirmed that, and the EFF, we call them the EFF 6, that's Julius Malema and 5 others, that stormed the stage and were charged for that, have gone to the Western Cape High Court to challenge, first of all, their suspension, as well as the rules that guide the disciplining of members, specifically this issue of what constitutes a serious offence. They've argued that the guidelines are too broad and are left open to abuse without being challenged. So that is a court case that we'll be seeing over the next 2 days. Day one started today with arguments from EFF, and we expect to hear from the Speaker of Parliament, rather, tomorrow.
Canny, as always, very insightful. Thank you very much for that reportage. That's SABC News reporter Canny Maphanga speaking to us.